So the conversation with Mrs. Winters left a nasty aftertaste and brought no results except for the weird feeling that she knew something about me that I myself wasn't aware of. Besides, she was acting way more politely than yesterday. That is interesting. That's what threw me off. Was the fact that yesterday she was very like, you Nikolai, get the fuck out of my face. But now she's like, oh yeah, let's come in, Nikolai, let's have a chat. Oh. Maybe something happened in the last 24 hours that cheered her up. Maybe. And I behaved like a naive fool in front of her. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Did I really believe that my words would change anything? I believe that you believe it. I was angry with myself, with Catherine's mother, maybe even Catherine for not thinking about me when she let herself get kidnapped. What? Are you kidding me? I was angry with Catherine for not thinking about me when she let herself get kidnapped. Nikolai, I am going to beat the shit out of you. You are the most worthless fucking jackass, I swear to God. You finally get the girl, right? You finally get the girl that you've been longing for this last year and a half. You finally get her. Then I understand this recent news that Himitsu drops on you. It's big, yo. Yeah, it takes some time to recover from it. But then y'all decide like, oh yeah, you know what? I still love her. Nothing's changed. And then you say some shit like, I'm angry she didn't think about me when she let herself get kidnapped. Yeah, the way he says that, she let herself, as if she had a choice in being kidnapped, as if she was like, do I want to go home or do I want this stranger to take me? Well, it doesn't quite matter what Nikolai thinks. I believe I'll get kidnapped. Like, just... Nikolai, you're a fucking dumbass. The idea that she just ran away from home already seemed completely unbelievable. I got on the train and absorbed in the thoughts of Katya. I didn't notice when I skipped my station. I had nothing to do at home and no patience to just sit around and wait for news. I rode on in a pointless attempt to run away from my problems. No way. Is he gonna fucking take the train all the way down to that area where that warehouse is? Where not Kagome. Where well, I mean yes Kagome, but where Ellie was at previously? Because I'm thinking like, yo, Kagome's clearly pissed at him. We saw that because he hasn't been sharing any information with her. He told Kagome that, he was close with Catherine. And Kagome made some sly threat at him. I'm thinking it could be Kagome. And like, we already know Kagome has a penchant for kidnapping, alright? Like, this ain't the first time Kagome has kidnapped a motherfucker. May not even be the last. Like, shit, we'll wait and see what Ellie's route has for us, but, wouldn't surprise me. The center of Tokyo was left far behind. It seemed that with each kilometer I went back in time a decade. Uh-huh. Yeah, I knew we'd end up here, but will we end up at the warehouse? The district I found myself in could have easily looked like the same at the beginning of the century. Ooh. Or is this going to be like in Himitsu's route where we end up turning to Kagome for help? Am I jumping the gun by getting mad at Kagome? Just because she's done some kidnapping in the past, I'm assuming. Oh, yeah, kidnap, it's gotta be Kagome. Even though, because that's the thing. She kidnapped Ellie because she was trying to get back at the corp. Well, that's the thing. If she believes the Americans are involved, she would think that kidnapping Catherine would get back at... Okay. So, I mean, it could be. He's gonna tell Kagome about all this. She's gonna know about all this. She's gonna lie to him and be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know where, like, she lied to him about Ellie. Like, and this time they're not near as close. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Wherever I looked, there were cozy restaurants and street food joints. It was a hard trial for a hungry person. And also, this was exactly where I had met Ichinose for the first time. I was walking down the waterfront, couldn't pick a restaurant to eat in. Is he just gonna randomly stroll to Kagome's restaurant? One seemed to be small, another too old. The third one looked good, but it was closed, and the fourth one had no free tables. In the end, when I stopped by a restaurant called Gifts of the Sea, the station was far behind me. To be honest, the place didn't look any different from the others, but my stomach decided that there was no point in walking any further. Inside, I found a typical Japanese diner, barely bigger than my favorite ramen cafe. The few visitors were sipping their soup and loudly talking with the cooks and the counter and each other. I looked around in an attempt to find a menu or a waiter and saw Kagome, who was rather skillfully weaving her way between tables. She didn't seem to have noticed me. Couldn't decide whether to run away or just sit down with dignity and call her. Finally, Iwamoto looked in my direction and welcomed me with a nice smile. Welcome. What are you doing here? It's not polite to greet your customers like that. I can do well enough without your advice. How'd you find out where I live? So you live here too? I asked, surprised. Kagome looked me up and down coldly. I was just looking for a place to eat and picked your restaurant by complete accident. By accident, sure. Iwamura, seriously, I'm not in the mood to start this all over again. Again. Just a few days ago, she had mentioned Catherine she was spying on me at the club, yeah? Why are you staring at me like I owe you money? Just thinking what an interesting coincidence it is that first you warned me about Catherine, and then she disappears. Disappears? She was kidnapped, to be precise. Don't pretend you didn't know. Naturally, I couldn't be certain she was involved somehow. And honestly, the strange girl in an apron didn't at all look like a person capable of kidnapping anyone. Are you sure about that? Maybe look a little deeper, bud. Are you nuts? Okay, don't get angry. If there is any way you can help. How did you help me? I helped in every way I could. Yeah, right. She smirked and started wiping a nearby table. I'm serious, a person is missing. So is my father, if you forgot. I'm very sorry, but I didn't finish the sentence. In reality, I didn't care in the slightest about her issues, and I had successfully showed her just that every time we talked about this before. So expecting any help from Kagome would be foolish, to say the least. Yeah, it sure would. I understand you must think that I didn't pay enough attention to your situation, but Yumura, I know nothing about your father. You were the one who started talking about Catherine. So what? I talked about a lot of things. Kagome shrugged her shoulders indifferently. Your sources might know more. And you're suggesting I take a risk because of you? For the sake of that American I've never even talked to? If that could help somehow, yes. In exchange for some information that might be useful to you. Have you been so insistent that you know nothing? She finally stopped doing her thing and straightened out with her arms akimbo. I don't. But I can try to learn something. No, when you have something worth discussing, drop by. For now, stop breathing on my neck, for God's sake. Can I at least order some food? Please do. Kagome threw a menu on the table in front of me, scoffed, and walked off to the back. The wallet in my pocket was pleasantly heavy with paper bills, my stomach was absolutely empty, and my spirit was down, so I ordered sashimi, a double portion of rice, and sushi. Without Iwamura, the restaurant seemed to become emptier. Even the old men, finishing their noodles, grew quiet. Admittedly, the cuisine was fantastic. I was a rare guest in expensive restaurants. To be honest, barely ever visited any dining places other than proletarian ramen cafes, but they say one needs not to be a cook to enjoy the taste of fried eggs. Kagome didn't show up in the hall once after that, even though I spent some 15 minutes watching the cooks work with a speed that made my head spin. Of course I could call her, but she clearly indicated that she had no intention of helping me. And even if she wanted, she most likely just couldn't. I walked out of the Gifts of the Sea with my head hanging. There's no point arguing. Making a scene in public in the middle of the day wouldn't do me any good. Kagome, even if not on purpose, showed me that I got what I deserved. Could it have been the same with Catherine? But our relationship seemed to have finally started to get better. Things were bad, at the very least no better than the past day, but the disgusting feeling of satiety was pumping endorphins into my brain, preventing me from completely drowning in the depths of desperation. Hawkers, delivery men, and other working folk were running all around the waterfront. It was also filled with an unbearable stench coming from the fish stalls nested at every corner. I checked the prices and noted that shopping here would be much cheaper than in supermarkets. And the food itself was most likely fresher. How many years would it take companies like Kobayashi Corporation to completely strangle these simple workers and replace the many motley fishermen with one huge soulless shopping mall? Multicolored signs in English, endless rows of shelves, processed and packaged fish heads, with loudly colored price tags crossed out several times. Sales on the occasion of Golden Week, Christmas, and the capitulation of Japan in World War II. Of course, it wouldn't mean that all these people would automatically lose their jobs, but it would become much more difficult to enjoy fresh fish. I was casting glances over my shoulder all the time, as if I had forgotten something. Of course, someone could be watching me, but today I had no intention to do anything of interest to them. It seemed that excessive suspicion had become a habit of mine. I wondered where the line lay between caution and paranoia. Nevertheless, I did occasionally spot a familiar face in the crowd, or so I thought. Irina? I wouldn't mind talking to her myself, so I wasn't in particular surprised when I heard. What an unexpected encounter. I noticed you a good 10 minutes ago. Uh-oh, it seems I'm getting out of shape. She suddenly grabbed me by the hand and started walking by my side. Didn't know we were this close. Come on, you were the one who told me I could pass for a schoolgirl. In a different life, I would have probably enjoyed this woman's attention, but now her over-familiarity only evoked aversion. I avoided showing that I would prefer to keep my distance. You probably already know about Catherine's disappearance. If that was a question, then yes, we do. Perhaps you also know what happened to her? I really wanted to ask were you the ones who kidnapped her, but managed to restrain myself. Thinking about it, Katya could become a leverage against her mother, but I knew too little of the relationship between the KGB and the CIA to make any educated guesses. Are you perhaps blaming us? Are you to blame? How could you? We're not Americans, capable of anything, even kidnapping a child. But you do need something from me. That is a logical assumption. Irina squeezed my arm, and her face lost every trace of the smile just on it. It seems that now you've got an additional incentive to cooperate with the wrong people. So you know where Catherine is. We know one thing for sure. Whatever happened to her, it shouldn't influence your decisions. Same old again. I've told you 1,000 times by now that I don't know anything. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell after the way you've treated me. The way you've treated me? She scoffed as if having discovered a bone in her sashimi. Must I remind you that we are not the ones who interrogated you, not the ones threatening you and Miss Winters, but we are the ones offering protection? I've yet to see any protection. Suddenly Irina stopped, turned around slowly, and for some time peered warily into the crowd. Then she suddenly and abruptly pulled me aside and pushed me against a wall. Play along if you want to live. Oh! said Irina Mostovaya, a KGB major, and sealed my lips with a passionate kiss. I didn't know how to react to it and froze, unable to move. Apparently my brain activated one of the oldest reactions to danger, pretending to be dead. Irina, meanwhile, seemed to enjoy the process to the fullest, trying to stick her tongue into my mouth. Nice! I mean, you know, unfortunate that happened in this set of circumstances, but nice! Rather than really resisting, I simply wasn't in a condition to respond. The aggression, persistence, and the fact that I'd been put in a very passive role brought me no pleasure. Finally, she drew away from me and wiped the lipstick now smeared all over her mouth with a handkerchief. Was someone following us? No. What? I said in shock. I just always wanted to try that. It always happens in spy films. She smiled innocently as if apologizing for an insignificant mistake. Find yourself another partner for rehearsals. I took a step back from her and abruptly spread my arms. This is not fucking drama club. So angry. Irina responded calmly. I'm sorry to envy Miss Winters. You intend to keep teasing me. This conversation is over. Relax, I was just joking. Tried to cheer you up. A Soviet person helping another Soviet person. Do I look like I have the hammer and sickle inked on my chest? Irina grabbed and dragged me along the waterfront. Fine, if you want to talk, let's talk. As you understand, we keep an eye not only on you, but on every significant person in the project, including Cheryl Winters. But not on her daughter. She has no interest to us. However, it just so happened that we saw her being kidnapped. Couldn't help but stop and stare at Irina. She was definitely taken by the Japanese, but I don't know who exactly. Could be the corporation, could be their intelligence agency, or perhaps Yakuza aiming for a ransom. No, it was, god damn it, Himitsu, you sack of shit. This is the shit I was talking about. This is what I thought Himitsu had done in the past, but it's what she's doing now, isn't it? She tells her father something, some kind of lie, some kind of bullshit to where Catherine gets dragged away. It's fucking Himitsu. It's fucking Himitsu at fault here. I'm going to start swinging on that little fucking piece of shit. I'm going to punch her right in her fucking face. Let's go. Give me that fucking moment where fucking Nikolai just wallops her. I need it. I need it. I need it to look like the fucking Battler Burncastle CG from episode 8 of Umineko. That fucking whap. Just that fucking bat. Getting knocked the fuck out. I need it. I fucking need it. In any case, little here depends on you. But if someone tries to influence you somehow... Thank you for the information, but I hold the security of the girl I love higher than the mythical ideals of communism. I interrupted her rudely. Apart from the mythical ideals of communism, there's also common sense that you've got a lack of. True. Meanwhile, we approached the station. Now, Nikolai, I warned you, even though I didn't have to. It's up to you to decide what to do next. Irina suddenly started speaking in a tone that made ignoring her words impossible, as if that episode with the kiss had been performed by a different person entirely. And if you want to keep poking your nose into all this, at least my conscience will be quiet. You give me so much care that I don't know where to run from it, I grumbled. Her intentions were unclear. I could hardly believe that Irina was only driven by worry for me. I was still grateful for the information, even though I hadn't always taken her seriously before. But I didn't rush to express my gratitude, even though she was clearly expecting something. See? Irina finally said, apparently realizing that she wasn't going to get anything else out of me. A few hours later, I found myself at home, sitting in my kitchen. I remembered absolutely nothing of what I had been doing or thinking after the meeting with Irina. I turned the TV on and was pointlessly switching channels. As far as I remembered, in the USSR, there were only a few channels that mostly showed adult films and grim-looking men talking about things a child couldn't understand. However, when I would wake up on a Saturday morning and run to the screen to watch cartoons, the little box seemed to bring me to the magical land of childhood dreams. Of course, there were more channels and cartoons, or anime in Japan, but that diversity brought with it boredom. I'd begin with one thing, and as soon as the action on the screen couldn't hold my interest, I would switch to another. Sometimes I'd switch channels at the same speed a Formula 1 driver switches gears. My brain constantly demanded something new and couldn't focus on the same picture for long. In the end, I turned off the TV and picked up a book. The letters were running all over the place, hiding from my eyes. The meaning of the printed words was indecipherable. I put the book away, sprawled out on the floor, and stared at the ceiling. Life spent in ignorance is unbearable. But what about a life in which there is no place for anything but anxiety about the person you love? I was fully aware of my helplessness, submerged into it, soaked in desperation from the inside, felt the depth of the unbearable nothingness of my existence. When Catherine was found, if was found, I wouldn't be the same person. And then I recalled something from the conversation with Irina that I would have preferred to forget. She told me that Catherine was definitely kidnapped by the Japanese. Himitsu's father was Japanese. Yeah. Moreover, he worked for the Secret Service. Yeah. Perhaps in a different situation I would have thought twice, but now I couldn't control myself. The decision seemed like the only possibly correct one. Oh, homie just storming over there. Homie just storming over there. I get it, but at the same time, oh. Oh ho 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 ho. Okay. Pop off, my G. Pop off. Is he just gonna start swinging on Ryunosuke? Like with most situations I had found myself in recently, I had no real, or better say none at all, plan of action. What I say or do would depend on the situation. I began to notice more and more often that sometimes I would just give up control all over my life and observe it as a spectator. However, I had no strength to change the situation. The melodic ring of the doorbell sounded positive, if anything, very unlike the factory siren in my house. It informed the masters of the house of the arrival of dear guests, promising them to set the table, open the door, and bring out the bread and salt. But of late, I was no welcome guest here. His father appeared on the doorstep. Hello, Ryunosuke-san. We need to talk. I began in an unexpectedly firm tone. Ito looked at me the way people look at an annoying traveling salesman peddling random wares. Even if his garbage is probably of no worth or interest, it's still curiosity. What about, if I may ask? Is Himitsu home? No. Good. Where is she? Nikolai, I take it that recently your relationship with Himitsu was worsened significantly. Is that what you wanted to talk about? That's part of the problem, but it's a consequence, not the reason. Ito kept staying in the doorway like an honor guard. Ryunosuke-san, may I at least come in? He stepped aside and invited me in. In the living room, Himitsu's father offered me to sit on the sofa, while taking the armchair opposite to it. So what do you want to talk about? I didn't want to accuse him of kidnapping Katya right away, but there was no point in beating around the bush. You know Catherine, right? The girl that recently returned from the U.S.? I don't know her personally, but I've heard about her from Himitsu before. And you probably know that she's disappeared, right? No, I don't. He responded, but his face didn't look particularly surprised. Ryunosuke-san, I know everything about you. How you spied on my family for many years, and are spying on me now. I wanted to add something about Himitsu, but the words got stuck in my throat. Ito recrossed his legs and locked his fingers together like a professional psychoanalyst. And who told you something like that? You did. Is that so? He finally showed something resembling interest. I accidentally overheard you talking on the phone in the village a week ago. Well, in the light of recent events, it definitely makes a lot of things simpler. Ito replied after a long pause. What recent events? I can assure you that I have nothing to do with Miss Winter's disappearance. If not you personally, then none of my colleagues have any connection to it either. I have different information. Where does this information come from? Why does it matter? It matters, Nikolai, because somebody might be trying to misinform you. Look who's talking. For how long have you been misinforming me? 10 years? I think you're enough of an adult to not whine like a child. I don't even know why I came here. If you know anything about Catherine. I didn't let him answer. Although you aren't going to tell me anyway. I repeat, I know nothing about... I really envy your composure, but I don't envy Himitsu. On the other hand, like father, like daughter. I smirked, my words seemed to sting Ito, who made no attempt to conceal it. I would ask you not to involve my daughter in this. She involved herself. We've already talked about this. Himitsu didn't even really try to deny it. That's because she is confident that it would be better for you. Better? I shouted and threw my arms in the air. Don't you think that's something to discuss with me first? Reporting my every step to Japanese intelligence doesn't exactly strengthen trust in a relationship, you know. I only told Himitsu a couple weeks ago. That doesn't change anything, I said in a far less confident tone. What matters is her reaction and what she told Catherine. Perhaps one stems from another here. In any case, I wasn't ready to forgive Himitsu yet. It's not even about her. Right now, I only care about Catherine. You tend to forget the good quickly. You really want to talk about this? Now? I'll never believe you wanted to see me as your son-in-law. It's not about that. Then what is it about? Ito sighed, stood up, walked to the kitchen, took a bottle of something that resembled whiskey out of a crate, and poured 2 fingers worth into a glass. You're already old enough to carry the responsibility for your own actions. But... He sat in the chair and put the glass on the table in front of him. As a father, I can't just passively watch Himitsu jeopardize herself by entangling herself with you. Is that a threat? It is a fact. However, if you were more flexible... I can't believe that you're trying to merchandise your daughter. I jumped off the sofa and gave him a menacing look. What could I do now? Start a fight? Sit down! Ito said imperatively. I don't intend to push Himitsu on you. I don't like the idea myself either. But I can improve your relationship. Isn't that what you want? To be frank, such a thought never crossed my mind. Somehow, I couldn't even imagine our relationship would ever be the same again. Right now, I only care about Catherine. I know nothing of what happened to her, and she has never been of any interest to us in the first place. He annoyedly snarled back. What about her mother? Nikolai, this might surprise you, but not every parent is willing to expose their children to danger. What are you trying to say? My fingers gripped the armrest, my eyes started scanning the room for something heavy to grab. Your parents had secrets that cost them their lives. There are no secrets that can justify murder. Ito said nothing and kept looking at me with something resembling pity. Perhaps you're right. But, unfortunately, we don't always have the power to choose our destiny. Please drop the fatalism. It's a little bit late for apologies. I have nothing to do with their death. I sure damn hope so. I growled through clenched teeth and stood up. With that, farewell. I couldn't say the conversation with Himitsu's father had been completely pointless, but I learned nothing new about Catherine. He was saying he wasn't involved. What else could he say? Like, yeah, sorry, that was us, did an oopsie? And what he said about Himitsu. Even if just for a moment I'd managed to look at her actions from a different angle. Of course, that little attempt at revenge in exploiting Catherine's pregnancy did her no honor, but... There's no but. There is no but. Don't you throw a but on that. That's less than did her no honor. That fucking... Put that bitch in a gulag, alright? That's fucking dirty. That is beyond dirty. That is so fucked. So goddamn fucked. That is the most fucked petty shit that little piece of shit could have possibly fucking pulled. Just because, ooh, I want the man. Oh, do I have dirt to get you out of the way so I can have the man? Fuck you, Himitsu. That little butt found its place in my thoughts, now cast its shadow on every judgment I had made regarding Himitsu. Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck that.